We're talking about, we spoke about level number 0, and then we spoke about level number 1. Okay, and we said level number 0 is the person that just making noise.
I'll make printouts.
I have to make more print. I'm going to do them for next week. I didn't have a chance. He's making noise to try to make himself feel dvekus, but it's not really dvekus yet. And then level number 1 is when there's a little bit of good invested into that, but he still wants the feelings for himself. He wants to basically feel he wants to feel dvekus for himself, and therefore in that state, it's still, the klippas are overriding the kedusha, so therefore the kedusha is hidden inside of it, because he's going in saying, I want this to happen. Okay? Now we're going to go on to the second level.
Do we have those papers?
I have to get some more out. I didn't have a chance. I'm sorry. If I don't want to sit next to me like this. Okay, so v'zeh madrega abet l'mayla mizeh shu inyan shmiya merachok hanal. So there's a level called shmir merachok. Sheshomea v'mitbonen b'elokut dafka, that a person listens and thinks about godliness. Mevin heitev, he understands it well. Ad shenit emet v'nitkabel etzlo b'mocho al kol panim, until he receives it in his mind and agrees with it. Shu davar emet lamito, he says this is a true idea. Okay, but he says this thing is far from me. What good will come out of this idea? Maybe it sounds too spiritual. How's it going to help me, kind of thing. So he's still in a distance from the person, even though he understands it and agrees with it and says it's true. It's far from the person. So that's called shmiya. Shmiya means that you hear it, but it's still far from you. Hainu shemitzad. A person says contemplating on godliness is a very precious thing, and he receives it in a way of acknowledgement alone. Okay, now what does acknowledgement mean? It means that you agree, but you're not really there. And godliness will be praised, and it will be in your mind and in your heart. It'll be such a great thing. And he wants this thing to be placed in his heart and his mind in a felt way and not just hidden, as is known. This is a better level. That is close to actually coming to feel excitedness in a real way about godliness. The concept of contemplating godliness will grow in his soul, and he desires it very much. And his whole desire and will is to come close to it. שמגיע את עצמו, מייגע את עצמו ואינו פועל התפעלות אלוקות ממנו, קל במוח מלב. But when he toils himself in this matter, nothing happens. He doesn't feel anything in his mind and his heart. ואין זה לעצמו, and it's not necessarily only for himself, רק אלוקות בלבד, it's only for Hashem, כי אך קרבת אלוקים יכפות, because he wants to be close to Hashem, שיהיה kavua benafsho dafka, that it should be in his soul. V'zeu ikar hatchalat hamevakshim v'dorshim elokim be'emet v'betamim. This is the beginning of ones who desire godliness in a true way, and in a tmimus way, be'kavana ritzya, with a real kavana le'elokut dafka. Okay, so basically, he really wants it, and he knows how precious it is, but it's still, and he understands how it's good for him, but it's still something that's far from him. Meaning, the concepts that he's learning about doesn't affect him in any real way to actually have hispaalus on godliness. The third, okay, that's level number 2. Okay, and Tanya discusses these things. Okay, it could be the person has his naran only in ibur, which basically means that if he's trying to contemplate deeply on something, he's not going to come to actual true feelings on it. Okay, so that brings us, so now what do you do? So it brings us to the third level.
In other words, it's like he doesn't have the physical ability to generate the true feelings. feeling.
Right, it's not there. His soul's not fully invested inside of his nefesh, ruach, and neshama to be in a revealed way. It's only in a state of ibor, which means impregnated inside of him. So he doesn't have the access that he wants. So what does he do? So the third level that's higher than this is called machshava tova shemetzarefet lamaaseh. Okay, that's chapter 16 and Tanya discusses this. It says that brings in the footnote here. So if a person's nefesh, ruach, and neshama are only behelim inside of his soul because they're in ibor, which means they're impregnated inside of him, but they're not begalui, they're not birthed out into being revealed way. So over there it says that nonetheless a machshava tova is mitzdarf lamaaseh, which basically means that if a person desires to do it, then Hashem will make that his Torah mitzvahs will be invested with the avanira, just like someone who has the ability to do it, and Hashem makes it that it goes up to the same madrega, which is the olam abriya. Okay, why is that? Because when a person does contemplation of godliness, and he does his bonus, and therefore from there he creates the avanira from his bonus, so that avanira is able to elevate his Torah mitzvahs to the level of bria, because they came through contemplation, therefore it goes up to that level. Okay, the natural love goes to Yetzirah, and then the love that's born out of contemplation goes to bria. So it says, if someone doesn't have the ability to do that, then a machshava tova, which means the desire to do that, Hashem is mitzdaref to maaseh, so Hashem lifts it up, so it gets to that level by itself, even though your naran is only behelim.
In other words, saying, well, I want to be able to think myself into having a certain feeling. Even if I'm not able to do it, I want to.
Right. Okay, yeah.
But you need still the maaseh.
Well, the maaseh is the
Hashem,
yeah, is that you're trying to do it. What do you think? What? No, the maaseh is contemplating and doing the words of tefillah. That's the maaseh.
We have three.
No, but the maaseh also Hashem lifting it up. That's also a maaseh that He puts wings on it, so to speak. Because Torah mitzvahs without any av and yira, it says, the Mishnah says that if you have a bird that doesn't have wings, it's still a kosher bird, but it's not going anywhere. So you have the wings to flies. Okay, so what is that? Yeah, but it doesn't. It stays at a lower level. You want to be able to bring it to a higher place. Okay, so now Hainu Ba'ava v'nira shenogeh lamasa bilvad. So it's a love and fear that only is a level of action. Be'er inyan. The explanation is Liot ki madriga bet. The second level. Hina gam shekavanato ritzuya lelukut davka. It's so the second level is the following. Even though his desire is that he wants godliness, Hainu raksher otzeh sheyeh karov. He wants to be close and not far from godliness. This desire comes from a person being able to see how precious godly concepts are in his mind. But his brain didn't actually have any pa'ula, that it didn't get affected and excited about it be'emes. Because the thing is still very far to him, which means if a person really had true hispaalus, it's, how do you translate hispaalus? Ecstasy. That's what they say. Like, it's a very unbelievable feeling that a person has when he's praying. And if you don't, so when he says you're very far from it, he's talking about the true levels where you feel like if you felt that, you'd probably do shachar for 3 hours, because it would be a very ecstatic. It would be the best feeling you ever felt, basically. Okay, so rak sherotzeh shitkarev elav lo nitkarev adayin. So a person wants to come close to godliness, but he didn't do it yet. Rak bechinat hoda'ah b'moch bilvad. So it's a level called hoda'ah, that he acknowledges it, but he is not there. We said last time, based on another mimer, explains that the level of hoda'ah is that you're not even getting the tiferet yet. You're getting just the chitzonius and a little bit of it, which basically gives the person the recognition that there's a lot more there, but he's not there yet. But the fact that he's able to perceive there's a lot more there, that's called hoda'ah.
This is a regular level of living?
Well, it's the first. It's like the first 3 years of the tree, Arla. You can't, because you don't have any pneumius connection yet. But you know it's there. It's coming. So you could acknowledge that it's there.
Is it correct that Diuk in the Slovia says a guy knows how precious idea of Elikus should be in his mind, but he notices, man, but my mind does not get excited about that. Oy.
Right, so he's able to perceive that there's much more that he could get,
why
but he
am I
didn't.
not excited enough about this thing?
Yeah.
And if he doesn't have that question, why am I not excited? Then
he's not even at the level of hoda'ah yet. He
right.
just thinks there's nothing there.
Then he's just blood going.
Yeah, or he's just doing it in a way of hiskafia. He's just forcing himself to do it because that's what you have to do, and therefore he fulfills his obligation to do it. So that's basically.
Is it telling the situation is that in order to be on that level, you have to complete your entire tshuva.
Tshuva is the way, obviously, part of
Tshuva
this.
is
It's a part of this whole process.
By the time you finish tshuva, the next level is what that.
It could be, but that's part of the process. Part of it is basically sometimes at the beginning you might have to do it through action to break yourself, but part of that is doing tshuva. And the tshuva helps you get into das. As we learned, chapter 42 in Tanya says, what is das? It means the spark of Moshe Rabbeinu's soul, that your soul came from. And when you're connected to that, you can know Hashem. So how do you connect to that? So it says the first thing, if it says, it brings from the mashal from the Zohar, also it's in chapter 29, in the beginning of the chapter in Tanya, it says that if you have a piece of wood and it doesn't catch on fire, how do you make it catch on fire? You have to chop up the piece of wood. So it says, if your body doesn't catch the light of the souls, you have to chop up your body. What does that mean? So people think it means to do sifugim and make your body suffer, but that actually makes your soul suffer too, so it's a double-edged sword. It could, sometimes it's a place, runs in very rare, in our generation it's more rare, but sometimes there's a place for that, but really the way to do it is tshuva, because tshuva is like taking a piece of wood and cutting it up, and then when you do tshuva from the depth of your heart, now the light of your soul could express itself in your body. Now what do you do from there? So it says, once you did that, now you have to practice doing the contemplations, because the contemplations, everyone's different level of soul. Contemplation is what is going to get you to attach yourself to Hashem be'emes. So this is so now when he did tshuva, now we're trying to do the contemplations. So now, obviously the person that is trying to do it and he can't really connect properly, maybe he has to do tshuva to get to the next level, that he could actually connect more be'emes, that he feels, and when you connect, there's a unification, it's like a strong desire connected.
And this Hoda means thanks.
Hoda means thanks, which basically means our acknowledgement, which means that he's at the level where he knows that all exists, but he's not there yet, but he acknowledges it exists. So
but it can be thanks.
Well, there's different levels of thanks. So we said in the Mimer of we talked about in the Achim HaKadoshim, we talked about 3 levels compared to the tree of the Orla. The first level is the first 3 years of the tree, which is called, it's when the earth only receives the nehi of Zer Anpin. Okay, the tree is Zer Anpin, the earth is Malchus, and the Malchus receives some nehi. So since it only receives some nehi, it doesn't have any connection to Tiferet, therefore it's in a state of hiskafia. So it has to always break itself and has to say, this is asur, this is bad. And when you graduate that level, you either get 1/3 or 2/3 of Tiferet. It's a machlokes on what's going on there. And when you get that level, then you start receiving a little bit of das, but that, as the pasuk says, L'shem tifartecha, which means that you understand that there's more beyond you, but you're getting a little bit of Tiferet. So therefore you have to eat in Yerushalayim. In the 5th year, you eat it anywhere, you get the full-blown Tiferet, which means your das is in full-blown levels. And then when you get that, you get the full Tiferet, and then we get the full Tiferet, now you're like fully in das.
So Hoda is connected the 4th year.
Yeah. No, but the thing is, there's even a deeper level Hoda, which is the 5th year.
Oh, okay.
Because it says in that Mimer that...
Just the Hoda that we just discussed.
Yeah, but when you get the full das, then you realize, because it says over there that there's a pasuk that says, Peti amin lechol davar. It says, a fool believe everything. Who is that? Sages say, Moshe Rabbeinu. Is he the fool that believes everything? Yes, because he got the full level of das, and after you get the das, you become a peti amin. You go to a munah beyond das, and that's a higher level of hoda'ah, where you realize that even once you have all this das, there's even beyond that, even more. That's even a higher madriga. But over here, we're just talking about the person
I
has.
know everything to know that it's
Yeah.
Emunah and not that.
Can
Yeah,
the
yeah.
level be called praise? The level of
That's
praise?
hoda'ah, is a form of praise. Yeah, so that's a higher level hoda'ah.
Of praise.
Yeah, it's because once you get all the das, then you realize that even more beyond your das, then you go into the level of. So the difference. So now that's when the Ein Sof reveals itself to you. When you get to Emunah beyond das, that means
There's like a-
revelation of Ein Sof. That's what it is.
I believe because I don't know yet, and then now that I know everything, now I really believe.
Yeah, exactly. Then everything becomes Emunah at that point. Okay, so now v'zeu rak b'chinat hoda'ah b'moch bilvad. So this person is only at the stage where he's acknowledging it because he's not there yet in the level in his das. Therefore, l'chach lo nikra b'shem. Therefore, he's not even at the level of machshava tova. He's just machshava stam. So, machshava tova is when there is a little bit of das, but machshava stam is when there's no das. There's only hoda'ah. There's only acknowledgement. Okay, we're going to explain now what this is. There's an example in worldly things that we see two types of thoughts. The first type of thought is machshava shechoshev adam be'inyan eze davar tov umeshubach shegadol beinav me'od. A person's going to think about something that is good and praiseworthy, that is great in his eyes, very great in his eyes. Kmo ha'otzar be'otzar hon yakar shu bereshut acher. Let's say a person has a certain treasure or amount of wealth accumulated that someone else has. So you think about, wow, so much money. Or behaflaga gdola v'kavod shel melech b'sar kagavna. Or you think about a prince and how much honor he has. And okay, shenikra machshava kara. That's called a cold thought. She'ein zin nogea v'sheach alav klal l'klal. This thought doesn't connect to you at all. You think it out, even though you're like, wow, but it's nothing connected to you, so therefore it's like outside of you. Ke'ena davar ba'alav, doesn't come to you. Lo mamon v'lo gdula, not the money, not the greatness of those kings. You're just like, wow, that king has a lot of money, but you're still cold to the thing because you're not feeling those feelings for yourself. You're just thinking about because there's a certain importance and preciousness in your eyes, and you want there to be something great like that to come to you. That's still called the second thought is a thought that relates to yourself. Let's say I made this much money in my business, or kavod or greatness that a person has, or a person acquired a certain treasure or wealth for himself. This thing comes with excitedness and it draws your soul a little bit. And this is called hazazah mimkomo. This shakes you out of your place. Let's say someone in your business tells you, oh, you made this much money, so it's directly related to you. Kol koach machshavato v'nidbak heitev machshava zu bitpalut hanikrad v'kut hamachshava. So a person's gonna take his whole mind and unite it with this, what's going on here, and feel excited. And this is called the dvekus of your mind, because it's directly related to you. Okay, v'hu nikra shmiya sheb'machshava. This is called shmiya in the machshava. Because this thing now is related to you, so even it's still maybe distance because so you heard it from the outside, but since it's related to you, you'll shake you out of your place a little bit. The sign for this is that you will be occupied and you'll move from your place a little bit to be involved with that thing you just heard. So too, contemplating godliness in your mind like this. You glued your mind to it in a way that it's related to you. And this is called machshava tova al kol panim. So meaning, the machshava tova that you're having that's connecting you to God is when that thing that you're hearing, yes, there's an aspect that it's far from you, but it's related to you, that it's shaykh to you. The moment that now it's shaykh to you, now it's in the level of machshava tova, and that machshava tova, Hashem is mitzdaref to maiseh, and Hashem lifts up those intentions you had all the way up to bria, just like you were a tzaddik, that your naran was biskalos in your soul. That's machshava tova, okay? Daino hit asfut tolada. What do you say?
That's because they were in one, right?
The what? The chen?
No, it says like this kasher.
He's kasher.
It's kasher, the sech called the Ryan.
Oh, you go to the malchus. He goes to the malchus instead of going to the chokmah itself.
It's like the second or third stage is being kasher.
All right. It's kasher. Yeah, could be. Tainu it hasfut tolada shalolad mimenu. So what's coming out of this is that you have a love and fear that's related to action, which basically means that the level of love and fear you have from that experience of davening with that madrega of machshava tova that Hashem mitzaref l'maisa will cause you that you won't do a sin now. Because that's what it says in that top chapter in Tanya. It says, if you don't have the ability to bring the love and fear into your heart, so therefore you're going to be fighting the whole time and you're going to fall. So what's the power that's going to stop you from actually fighting your Yetzer Hara? Is the fact that Hashem is mitzdaref to maiseh, and when Hashem is mitzdaref to maiseh, so it'll elevate your av and yira, and that'll give you at least the ability to fight off your Yetzer Hara and to do what Hashem wants be'emes, because Hashem is helping you do such a thing. But if it was actually in a revealed level that your naran would be revealed inside of your soul, then there won't even. So it says that that's like the level of getting into Tiferet, that you have das and Elokus, that you're no longer saying, get this thing away, it's usher. You're just saying, how can I increase or an ava to Hashem because I love Hashem so much? I just want to increase that. And you're not even focused on negative things, because the focus on negative things means that you're still on the first level where you have to say it's usher, move it away. But once you graduate and you have das, and if you have real avas Hashem, even though it says that when you have Abbas Hashem, it automatically means that you hate evil. But when you have Das, you're not going to even say this evil is bad. It says it in that mimer. You're going to want to just do Tosefet Or at that point.
So what necessitates pushing away evil before I contemplate Elokus in a way that is relevant to me, and then Hashem is mitzaref, and that keeps me out of sin? Why do I have to do any iskafi before I do that?
Before you do what?
Or before I contemplate an idea in Elokus in such a way that I imagine it's relevant to me, so I get a...
Because your animal soul is misgaber still until that happens.
Oh, so any response I get will be an animal soul response.
Yeah, you're going to have to fight until... Well, if Hashem helps you do this thing, then that'll be a protection, that you're not going to have to fight it to the same level.
So once I have a machshava tova, which is only that I think it in a way that it's relevant to me, which is something that like a complete sinner could do, right?
No, you have to develop your soul to a certain level so that it can be a shmua. Because what does it mean that actually godliness is relevant to me?
Yeah.
If not, then you're going to hear about the rich prince in Dubai, and he's like, that's nice. He has a cool life, it's all cool cars and stuff. But it's not relevant to me. That's a Russia is going to think of godliness in that way. It's still going to be a machshava kara.
Okay.
So meaning, if you want to graduate from machshava kara to be a closer machshava, then that means that you're starting to get into machshava tova.
There's some force being honest with yourself.
Yeah, and then you have to grow into the level where it's okay, I have to do something in order to get into my das. Yeah, I have to go in. Yeah, okay.
I read in Rabbi Yosef Chaim, the address...
The Kafa Chaim. No, yeah,
Yosef Chaim.
Who's that?
Ben
Ben Ish Chai.
He addressed the point of Kavanah.
Yeah.
To do a Kavanah without a Maaseh.
Okay.
How HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mitzaref oto le'maaseh.
Okay, what does it say?
There is no Maaseh. There is no Kavanah.
Well, the Kavanah is a bechina of Maaseh also. Yeah.
It says, the Kavanah that you did, Havat Hashem, it's coming from your heart. But you couldn't do it. For example, a tzaddik, he wants to give money for tzedakah. but he doesn't have the means. But he is willing to give. He wants.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have the mass.
Emet.
On the other side, there is another one who is very rich. He does kabod for himself, and he does a lot of money. He does a lot of ma'asim of giving money tzedakot.
Okay.
הקדוש ברוך הוא מצרף את המעשה הזה למחשבה הזאת.
Oh, really?
כאילו מצרף.
Chazak. That's big. Also, the Ramchal says that if someone was a Rosh their whole life, but they had a friend who was Shomer Mitzvot, that's a merit for the person. For having a friend. Like,
I read it once, so I wanted to share it.
That's
what
Chazak.
I said.
Nice.
There is no maase, so he brings the maase from the other guy that he didn't do it for.
But there is a sicha where it talks about if a person has a machshava tova to give tzedakah, then Hashem is mitzvah to masa to give you the money to give the tzedakah. You saw that?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
If it's beginning to Shabbat.
Yeah, exactly. So it has to actually be be'emes machshava tova. Yeah. Okay. So.
Because I'm moving to the song.
What song? What is it?
The Machshavot Tovot song.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Kavana.
Yeah, it's okay. So now machshava kara, even though so the person's machshava kara, he hears it from afar. Even though he wants to come close and to yitpael and to be excited about it, but he does it to be yitpael. Gam b'hinat shmiya shemachshava. He doesn't even get to shmiya shemachshava. El marachok levad yodeh b'hoda'ah. So at a distance, he acknowledges it. V'tolada shenolad mimeno rak b'chinat v'inyan habusha shemitbayesh. So what comes out of this level where it's in Krirut? He says, I acknowledge that there's such a thing called like, being excited about godliness, but I'm not even doing a machshava tova that Hashem can mitzvah l'maaseh. Okay, so what happens is he can't even do that, so therefore what comes out of it is busha. He starts feeling embarrassed, okay? Why? He comes in his mind a certain embarrassment that he is far away. He can't even imagine doing it be'emes in his own soul. Ve'echut shifluto, he sees his lowliness. V'gam inyan kalut shiflut olam hazeh churmi, and he sees the lowliness of this physical world. And after he received the contemplation of godliness, until he does some anachas, which means some sighs, starts sighing on it. Okay, and what comes out of this, of the cold thought, is that I can't do sins. That's it. Because he doesn't have any life force of godliness that's going to cause him to have ava. In Yira, all he has is that he knows that there's such a thing of godliness, and it's a far distant thought for him. He doesn't feel it's shayach for him anymore. So therefore, I won't do any sins.
Can't do anything really good, so I might as well not do anything bad.
Yeah, but he's going to be fighting. It's a level where he's going to have to fight himself all the time because he doesn't have any life force in it. Because that is the right thing to do. God doesn't want me to do these things. I'm not going to do them. And this is the lowest level. But he could get to Gan Eden Tachton from that level. That's very good. Eh? Meaning, if he lived his whole life like that, he'll get to Gan Eden Tachton. Okay.
He's not riffraff.
He did Torah mitzvahs. He made it in. He made it into Gan Eden. Okay. There is still godliness there. Mamash not called love and fear at all, in a way that he could feel. Okay, which is not the case with the lowest level, which is the first level. It doesn't have any godliness at all in it. Just that he wants to feel excited, but he's not in godliness at all. They're just in a very hidden way. Okay, but now we're going back to the machshava tova, the good thought, which means that it's close to you. Godliness is something that's shaykh to you. On this, it says also Shema Yisrael. V'achar kach v'ahavta, then it says v'ahavta, you shall love. She'ein ha'ikar rak hitpalut shmiya, hanal v'chshavazu. So his excitedness comes from the level of shmiya.